welcome back to Long Walk Talks. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am joined by my two co-hosts,
Cara Hayes,
Robert Bradford.
And we may have concluded our Lost 20-year retrospective, but we still have one last Lost adjacent movie to watch. If we got together to rewatch for most of us. Yeah, all three of us had seen this before. Yep, we got together to rewatch the movie Bone Tomahawk, starring Matthew Fox, a.k.a. Dr. Jack Shepherd. And, of course, we had to have a themed drink, so Robert, being our resident bartender, cooked something up for us. Robert, what did we have?
There is a drink called the Tomahawk. It's a kind of nice, summery beach drink. It's cranberry and pineapple juices mixed with triple sec and reposado tequila. So very bright and fruity drink for a dark and grim movie.
You didn't find Bone Tomahawk bright and fruity?
So there was actually, there's a style of cocktail making called split base cocktails, which also might have been appropriate. Apparently you switch out like the base spirit of a traditional cocktail for like two liqueurs that are flavored. So like you might use like cherry and honey bourbon liqueurs instead of just a straight bourbon for like an old fashioned. But it's something that I wanted to experiment with instead of just showing up with like every like liqueur I have and being like, pick two. So the Tomahawk it was.
Gotcha. Well, that definitely would have been side splitting. So we're going to jump into the discussion topics for this one. Starting off, we found that you can watch this movie on Hulu, but because Hulu and Disney Plus are pretty much fully integrated now, we decided, given the content of the film, it'd be funnier just to watch it on Disney Plus. So that's what we did.
Just some of the things that are like recommended for me when I pull up Disney Plus, because like right now I'm using it to watch the X-Files and old Law and Order reruns are kind of my two things there, and that just brings the weirdest things on the Disney homepage, because it's like, hey, Zootopia 2, and also like the autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Mine is even funnier, because one time we were over here with our friend Shelby and Ted and their daughter Lottie, and she wanted to watch Bluey. So I logged into my Disney Plus on Cara's TV so that she could watch Bluey. So now when you open Disney Plus at my home, it's like, the X-Files, Firefly, Daredevil Born Again, Bluey, Blue's Clues, all kinds of kids stuff. And I'm like, the first time I opened it after that weekend, I was like, who the fuck has been watching? Oh, right. All right. So take us away, Robert.
So we open on a person just lying peacefully on the ground and then promptly having their throat slit by David Arquette, as I described him. David Arquette, former WCW world champion, and I guess guy who's done some other stuff, plays one of a pair of outlaws who are murdering a group of settlers, frontiersmen. Not really clear what they're doing out there, but yeah, these two are killing them in their sleep and taking their stuff.
Hey, how can you say that when David Arquette is also very well known for being the front man for a rock band?
What?
Yeah. Those are like the two things that David Arquette is mainly known for, right?
Oh.
Can't think of anything else.
Any major film franchises?
Nah.
Well, he is partnered up with the late, great Sid Haig. It was really great to see him on screen again. Cara and I have actually got to meet him at Mad Monster Party in 2017, where he made me a drink. It was fantastic. Always love seeing him in movies. And I put in the notes that together they're the odd couple of outlaws.
Boy, howdy.
It is a very like bantery opening scene where they're like talking about, burning the books that they're not going to take, but make sure you don't burn any Bibles. And Sid Haig lectures him about not properly slitting this one guy's throat because he's still moving afterwards, and Haig has to shoot him. Just like, a lot of like, it's, I'm not going to say Tarantino-esque, but it is that kind of like, hey, here's like a lot of dense dialogue with hyper-violence in the background.
Uh-huh. Definitely in the background, because then out of nowhere, we see Sid Haig take an arrow to the throat, and then as David Arquette's character is running away, way in the background, we see Sid Haig's character getting butchered, just slightly out of focus. It's a really unsettling way to start a movie. But right after that, I put, hey, it's Dr. Jack Shepherd. Except, no, that's not his name here. It's Dr. Jack John Shepherd. What? Bruder.
Bruder.
He's the kind of fancy pants guy of the town. Like, he's got this clean white suit, and all of his stuff is like imported from Germany. So I don't think he actually is like a doctor or a professor or anything, but he does have that kind of like sort of haughty above it all attitude to the rest of the town.
And he's hot.
Well, we made a note about that later, but they all are.
Dude.
Everybody had a lot of fun getting like Western dolled up. Like Matthew Fox in this one, he's got like a trimmed mustache and like his hair is like oiled and slicked over to one side. Yeah, everybody has a lot of fun with getting done up for their period piece.
And that's something I love a period piece movie. I just am a sucker for it. But something that I thought about in this rewatch was just how at home Kurt Russell looks in the Old West. I assume thanks Tombstone, but there's and he actually named his at least one of his sons Wyatt, which of course
I just put that. How did I not get that before? I've seen Wyatt Russell in movies. It never occurred to me that that's why he's named that.
Well, you totally need to watch Monarch, not to plug something else, but.
No, but we'll take that money if anyone's listening to this and they're like, "Hey,
Apple
they're talking
TV?
about
Yes, Apple TV. Watch Monarch because there is nothing weirder than watching father and son on screen together. Sort of. It's very weird. But anyway, so yes, Kurt Russell, he just looks so at home.
Well, I think for this movie, he's using the same facial hair that he grew for The Hateful Eight. I don't know which movie he shot first, but clearly he was sort of like, I've got this awesome like handlebar mustache going on, and this is way too good of a beard to use in just one film. So I think it's a little more trimmed and well kept in this movie than in Hateful Eight, but clearly these were shot very close together. I mentioned the dialogue earlier, but as a fan of Deadwood, it just touches my heart to hear like that kind of sort of arch stylized, like it's just a hair more formal than you can ever imagine anybody speaking, but it's still got kind of a twang to it in the way everybody talks to each other. A lot in that first scene with Sid Haig and David Arquette, but also when you've got Kurt Russell as the sheriff of this local town sharing some soup with his, what's his title? Official backup deputy?
something like that." Yeah.
Played by the wonderful Richard Jenkins. But it's just that kind of like, this does taste like it has a thing. Well, that would be because it has a thing. And just...
Yeah, their banter back and forth is fantastic.
Just immediately telling you that, like, he's got an actual deputy who seems like a fairly capable young guy, but it just seems like he gave... Your first impression is that he's got a backup deputy just so this guy's got a place to come and hang out and get a hot meal every now and then. But later as the movie goes on, you start to see, okay, maybe Chicory, as the character's called, has a little more to him than that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're introduced to the bar where the first act of the movie, most of it takes place, and it's called the Learned Goat, which might be the coolest bar name ever. In movies, television, or in real life. I now want to start build my own bar so I can call it the Learned Goat.
I like that.
It's one of the most fun things has to be coming up with like fake restaurant names for. If you ever watched The Good Place on NBC, they had a lot of fun with like punny restaurant names and like the theme of this afterlife residence community.
So good.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest strengths of the film, in my opinion, is the fact that it is a movie that is not afraid to take its time, especially for when it came out. And even now, so many movies are, how do we move from line to line and scene to scene as quick as possible, right down to edits where every line is a different edit, and they call it MTV editing. I don't know what that's my generation's name for it. I don't know what you would call it now. This movie is not that at all. We spend a lot of time on the dialogue. We spend a lot of time on the shots. There's a realistic amount of pause between lines that I enjoy, as these are really two people having a conversation with each other. It's really great. It's also kind of lulling you into a false sense of security, considering what actually happens in this movie.
Well, you open with, violence from these two outlaws towards innocent people, and then the outlaws become victims of violence themselves. So that's all floating in the background. But yeah, then you have this kind of drawn out, like after that prologue, we have sort of a drawn out first act of just, okay, here's the town and here's the people in it, their relationship to each other. It's like a cattle town that's already had its, like the herds have already been moved out. So the people left behind are just sort of, the guy who runs the bar, the sheriff, and the cattle foreman who broke his leg, and then like a few other people who just keep the town running while everybody else is gone.
I just realized that we kept saying his name wrong when we were talking about this character, but we're introduced to Arthur and Samantha O'Dwyer.
Arthur is his first name.
And because of like the name O'Dwyer being so similar to Dwyer and the A names, we kept calling him Andy, like Chris Pratt's character from Parks and Rec. But no, so we're introduced to Arthur and Samantha O'Dwyer. As Robert just said, what was his official title there? Arthur's.
Like
wasn't it? He was foreman
or something. Yeah.
With his broken leg and his wife desperately trying to convince him to stay off of it and rest. And then later we see a sex scene between them because I'm pretty sure Lily Simmons has appeared nude in everything that she's ever done. Which, I'm not arguing about. But towards the end of the scene, as they switch positions, she questions whether or not he can continue with his broken leg, and he proves to her that he can, and she says, "Please continue," which I noted as the most polite "fuck me" ever uttered in real life or in dialogue.
One thing I actually really did love about this script is that, again, I mentioned Deadwood as kind of a comparison for tone, but the language is actually, I'm not a historical expert, but it seems kind of on point for what people would have said. Like a wife in the 1890s would not have said "fuck me" to her husband. And, like later on, O'Dwyer has to I think he has to snap his leg back into place, and he says like, "Oh goddamn, Jesus," and then immediately looks up and apologizes that that's the most vile language he's ever used, and he's immediately sorry for it.
Yep. So I think there was some real time crossover because is that you, Hensley? Damn, I got to break my leg.
Oh no, that was me.
That
just
was you.
noting
Okay.
that hanging out, just sitting around, having Lily Simmons take care of you, just doesn't seem like the worst life. Even though O'Dwyer is clearly a man of action who's restless, just sitting around. But I don't know,
Wants to be out working. But
breaking your leg doesn't seem like the worst thing to happen in that setup.
No, not when you're married to Lily Simmons, who says things like "please continue."
Agreed.
So David, our outlaw, wanders into town, and he's spotted burying, I think it's his weapons and some stuff, the stuff that he still has from the stash or from the score. The sheriff goes to confront him at the bar, and when Arquette tries to make a run for it, the sheriff shoots him in the leg and drags him to the jail. And they send Matthew Fox to go get Samantha O'Dwyer because she's got some medical training. And he just, I forget how he starts the conversation when he tells her, but he's just like, the sheriff had a confrontation, and she just sighs and goes, "Shot in the leg?" And Bruder nods and goes, "Shot in the leg," which is apparently just his go-to law enforcement technique, that this is not the first time they've had to do this.
I mean, it would at least hobble you and...
Yeah. And plus, in movies, flesh wounds, if you shoot somebody in the arm or leg, it's almost never serious.
Until it is.
Yeah.
Because, back in the Old West, gangrene and all that.
Yeah.
Well, this is a movie where I think it's not so much that those wounds are miraculously less lethal than they might be in real life, as much as nobody lives long enough to suffer the ill effects of these wounds. Speaking of which, I just... we have kind of the A-plot of the movie violently returning when we meet Buford, who's the kid who watches the stables of the town, and he goes to explore when he sees someone moving, and then gets a tomahawk in the head. So poor Buford, we are back into the violent portion of things with his death.
A tomahawk to the head, a tomahawk to the throat, and then a tomahawk across his midsection that guts him.
Yeah, we find him with his insides sort of scattered around a little bit later.
So,
sausage.
Oh, God. So after discovering this, the sheriff sends his deputy off to get the professor to meet them at the Learned Goat. And when the professor arrives, it is none other than Zahn McClarnon, a very popular Native American actor who's been in a bunch of things. He's on Reservation Dogs on FX.
Brilliant in the second season of Fargo.
Yep. He was on Westworld as Akacheta. Just an amazing actor. As soon as he popped up, I got excited. He only has the one scene. What'd you say, Cara?
So hot.
Yes.
It is very unfortunate that he was only in that one scene.
He should have joined them, but
his action is like, I'm not going anywhere near these lunatics that you're going after. Or they're not even lunatics. He's like, these are actual savages in the like academic sense. Well, that's jumping ahead a little bit, but
Well, yeah, he's the one who lays down like what the villain of the movie is. A tribe of ancient Native Americans that he refers to as troglodytes.
yeah, troglodytes and cave dwellers are kind of the term that at one point he's asked like, what's this tribe called? And he says this tribe doesn't have a name. Somebody asks, what kind of tribe doesn't have a name? And he goes, the kind that doesn't have a language. This does feel like the script clearing its throat just a little bit to emphasize that it's like, yes, we are doing,
Cowboys versus Indians.
right, white settlers being abducted and like a rescue mission by the heroic sheriff. So it is kind of that, hero cowboys versus bloodthirsty Indians trope. But we want to be clear, these are not like Indians so they actually have a scene where a Native American actor who plays a professor explains, no. This is not that trope specifically.
And I am not going to fuck with these people. You guys have fun. Cara, sorry. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, we have Kara's note up above that.
Yeah, you want to spend some time talking about how attractive this cast is?
I mean, good God. As if I needed any further incentive to watch this, again and again and again. Arthur, I
Patrick
love
Wilson and his very hunky, rugged frontiersman look.
very much so. And I'm terrible with like actual people's names. So, or people's actual names. Of course you've got Matthew Fox, Kurt Russell, Zahn McClarnon.
Yeah.
Now I just learned his name. Didn't know his name. Like everybody in this movie is like, Jesus Christ.
I feel like enough attention can't be put on Lily Simmons yet again. The
Yeah.
most attractive frontier wife I think I've seen in a movie.
I love that she, before she goes to the jail to treat this guy, she like takes a moment to do up her hair and put on like her very nice hat, and just a reminder that she cleans up very well also.
Well, I think it's appropriate that this is our follow-up after Lost, a show where everyone was good-looking all the time, even after spending months on an island. Their hair care was always perfect. Their makeup was always on point. And now, even back in the Old West, everyone is always gorgeous.
I mean, they get muddied up a little bit later on in the movie, but for some reason, this is a cast full of faces you recognize. Like we meet the mayor's wife at one point, and she's played by Sean Young from Blade Runner. Just like that, there's like, hey, it's that guy's everywhere. For some reason, the one that gave me the biggest "whoa, son of a" reaction is the guy who runs the bar has I guess his employee his name is Gizzard. But is played by Maestro Harrell, who I remember from the 4th season of The Wire, when this show that was about like cops and drug dealers just decided to be like, and now the 4 central figures are these kids in a Baltimore middle school, and we're going to make this an exploration of like what it is to be in like the public school system of a failing city. And it was this crazy ambitious swing that somehow paid off. But every time I see one of those young actors in another role, I'm like, hey, it's Randy. That made my Wire fan heart happy. I think we kind of jumped ahead here because this was one of those points where, you have everybody get together. We didn't really talk about the abductions, but so it's Samantha O'Dwyer, the Drifter, played by David Arquette, and Nick, the sheriff's deputy, all get kidnapped after Buford gets murdered, and they get dragged away. So a posse formed by the sheriff, his backup deputy, Chicory,
Arthur himself,
and John Bruder, who asserts that he has killed more Indians living than everybody else in the town put together. And he says this right in front of the professor, Zahn McClarnon's character, who, and when told that it's an ugly boast, he just goes, "It is not a boast, but a fact." So the 4 of them ride out. And we get a lot of scenes there that are just about them moving forward for kind of the next, 45 minutes to an hour of the movie. And I noted it here, but it's kind of present throughout, where there's not really a lot of sound or of music or underscoring here. So you just have like the thump, 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 thump of hoofbeats on the sand, but it feels like you're listening to the heartbeats of these guys as they get closer. And then when they eventually lose their horses and are walking, and it's just silence except for their steps and their whispers. Yeah, just this sense that you are hearing something primal and that could be stopped at any moment.
Well, in this movie, Bruder is the king of one-liners, which gives us this next one that Robert noted.
Yeah, I think because Arthur is kind of hostile to Bruder because he implies that Bruder made a pass at his wife at some point in the past. And I think it's Chicory who tries to stand up and say, like, as if any woman would have you to Bruder. And Bruder replies, "Many women invite me over for dessert." Which I just said, that's bro talk from the Cleveland administration right there.
Well, so many people, including the three of us, remember this film for its gratuitous violence, which there's plenty of. But I think it's important to note that this movie really does function perfectly well as a Western by itself. Even before you get to the gratuitous violence, like they are confronted by bandits who are strongly implied to want to steal their horses. And then later on, possibly different, but probably the same group of bandits does steal their horses and they have to walk. And we get these gorgeous long shots, wide shots of the plains. And it's just a beautiful Western, even if you subtract the savage violence.
And also just a lovely character study of just these four guys and just like they bounce off each other. And what honestly kind of amazed me is while it's easy to see this as kind of like I think they call them like the post-Westerns, sort of that like after Sergio Leone, that kind of Clint Eastwood Unforgiven school where the Western is more about exploring and deconstructing the tropes of classic Westerns. But in a lot of ways, like the morality and the treatment of these characters is very classic West. If this was not a movie where you saw like the things happen to a human body that you saw, there's not much here that wouldn't be out of place in like a John Ford Western from the 50s.
I saw somebody refer to this movie as The Searchers meets Irreversible.
Yeah.
It's got that level of violence. And it's like a blend of French horror film violence with classic old American Western.
Yeah, and just the way that even, Bruder, who's this guy who at one point it's emphasized has, slaughtered over 100 Native Americans, and not all of whom were men carrying weapons. But it's still like there are moments where he's clearly trying to connect and show like kindness and compassion to, Arthur, whose leg is increasingly bothering him as they go on. And, just that like these are guys trying to bond with each other.
Trauma bonding.
Yeah, there's a weird warmth to all of their scenes together of like, where it'd be easy in like a more modern take of the movie to have, one guy turn on the others or turn cowardly and have to get shot as he runs away or something. And you never quite see that. Like they're all positioned in kind of a heroic way, even with Bruder's, atrocities in his background. It's an interesting thing that the script does.
Very much so. But as far as lines go, this next one is great.
Yeah. So we watched this with captions on, and just a weird quirk of it is that whenever there's not a line, but just like a sound caption, like,
visual description,
so-and-so breathing or such and such grunting, for whatever reason, it shows it in brackets, but it doesn't capitalize the name of the character. So if it's just like O'Dwyer screaming, then it's lowercase o. So there's a scene where, like David mentioned, their horses get stolen, and Bruder's horse, who he insists is far too racist to ever let a Mexican ride away on her. And he seems genuinely hurt by the idea that his horse might not be that racist. But yeah, his horse, Saucy, resists getting stolen and so is shot and left for dead by the bandits. And so Bruder has to walk over to where she's lying to finish her off. And it's this, sad, intense moment of his face, knowing what he's got to do, a long take of him just walking forward. But the captions we have, saucy neighing, with all lowercase. So it's just like, I'm trying to imagine what a saucy neigh from a horse would sound like.
I'm glad. I almost did it, but we were all about to take the saucy neighing challenge. Nay.
I love it.
When Mr. Ed really had his younger days in Vegas.
Oh.
A lot of saucy neighing going on there.
When Mrs. Ed comes around. Yeah, so the sound design, as Robert brought up, is already top-notch, but then we get the scene where O'Dwyer slips and falls, and they paid especially good attention to the design of his leg. snapping, which made us all wince. And then just a few seconds later, he falls and it full on snaps and like re-breaks, and we all winced again.
Ugh. It's that was
It's a painful sound.
Yeah.
yeah. I have to hope I've never like really like broken a leg or anything like that. I hope it's not like that's not what it sounds like in real life, because that might send me over the edge if I ever break anything.
It is.
Great. Okay.
We also find out that I think, Cara, you mentioned Chicory is your favorite character, and
Yeah.
I'm sure no small part of that is the fact that we find out he was a combat medic during the Civil War when he has to like reset Arthur's leg with a hammer. So,
Yeah.
just got that shared interest with him.
Yes, very much so. I would have loved to have talked to him. The next note that I took, because of course once their horses are stolen, they have to walk, and so I said that we went from jungle run to desert slog, because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and as somebody who's not a great big fan of the outdoors to begin with, trudging through the desert in my Western attire, because these men are wearing like button-down shirts and vests and jackets and pants and boots, and they're carrying the sacks, that they have.
Haversacks.
There we go. That were on
Yeah.
their horses. You just know that these guys are just sticky
And smelly.
and smelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. You're not going to get me out walking through the desert.
It's nice editing because without letting it be too huge a part of the movie, without really killing the pace, you just get a sense of how long they have to spend just trudging on foot towards the valley where they know these cave dwellers live.
One of the things I know you were talking about, like the cinematics and the MTV cuts and whatnot. The one part of this, and I know it's roughly in this general time of the movie, where it's once Arthur gets back up and he starts to make his slog forward, and we have those cuts where it's like it's daylight and then instantly it's the same perspective or a similar perspective, and it's nighttime. Like there's something about that I just loved.
We also get the classic trope where the character who's established as being sort of the expert is the first one to get taken out. That, sort of like how Quint in Jaws is the first member of the Orcus crew to get killed. And I think the TV trope's title is like the world's expert on getting killed. Like whenever you have like a group and there's one guy who's like, listen, I know how to do this, so y'all got to listen to me and then we'll stay alive. That guy's almost always the first one to get killed. And yep, sure enough, I think Bruder, he takes an arrow in the chest first, and then is it like his hand gets smashed with a hammer?
No, it gets cut off.
It gets cut off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like right at the fingers.
Yeah.
Oh
so
no, it was. I thought
It was
I
the
thought
whole
it was,
hand.
I thought it
Yeah.
was like still attached was the thing, that it wasn't like fully severed. It was just like
'cause-
dangling.
Well, I thought so too, but then when they had sort of pulled back, there was a hand that was laying, and there was it was just
Viscera.
it was just there you go, it's a hand.
He holds out for a long time, considering what a grievous wound that is.
And definitely has more conversation than I would ever be willing to have if you cut my hand off.
Though to be fair, he's doing a lot of the it is very hard for me to breathe right now. I think he. No, it's later that we get some excellent punctured lung breathing, which is always me. But yeah, so he's the first one taken out. Impressively, there's not like a big dramatic arrival by the cave dwellers. It's just like suddenly an arrow comes out of nowhere and hits him in the chest, and I think another one like attacks Kurt Russell from behind, and suddenly there's three of them surrounding the party.
Well, it ends with a very sweaty, panting, and distressed Matthew Fox as John Bruder, mortally wounded and bleeding out, making a heroic sacrifice. And that feels really familiar, doesn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Didn't we just watch
Sweaty and panting.
a sweaty, panting, brooding character played by Matthew Fox make a sacrifice?
His sacrifice is not quite as successful here on Lost, because he talks about them leaving him a stick of dynamite so he can hopefully take out a lot more of the cave dwellers with him. And it seems like at most he might manage to shoot the one that's killing him. because we see his body is very much not detonated when the others pass by him later.
No, and just to emphasize like how fast and like otherworldly these fuckers are, this troglodyte pops around a corner with a tomahawk at the ready. He throws and Bruder shoots at the exact same time, and the next time we see Bruder, he has got a tomahawk to the forehead. Woof.
Yeah.
So, the sheriff and Chicory try to keep moving forward, but they get ambushed, and just, again, a very visceral scene where, like, we've established the sheriff as, like, a capable fighter and everything, but it turns out that when one of these guys is on top choking him out, there's really nothing he can do. And it's kind of reminded me of the scene in Inglourious Bastards where Christoph Waltz murders, what's her name, Bridget von Hammersmark, just that very disturbing look of, like, bug-eyed helplessness on a person's face. That is one of those things that for me I'm always like, yeah, wow, I would not like to die that way. But yeah, so Chicory and the sheriff get dragged to the cages where Deputy Nick and keep wanting to say Sarah, Samantha O'Dwyer are being held. When the sheriff asks about the drifter, Samantha just kind of matter-of-factly says they ate him, and it's like, oh, okay, so David Arquette died off screen in what is presumably a horrendous way. But if you think that this movie is going to keep subsequent horrors off screen, oh, you are so mistaken.
Yeah.
Because, I remember now, at this point in the movie, why people don't remember this for being a really great Western. It's remembered for being a really disturbing horror film. And all of the horror is basically confined to this, 5-minute chunk of movie.
And, but before we start to talk about it, when you had recommended this to me probably years ago, and I finally got around to watching it maybe 2 years ago, I guess, maybe at this point, and I was by myself, and just it was regular weekday afternoon that I would fuck around, take off work, and I got to this part, and I just had to pause it, and I was like, that is a thing I just saw. I couldn't look away then. I didn't let myself look away this time. But it is...
It's upsetting.
Yep.
Well, it starts... go ahead, Robert.
It starts with an on-screen scalping. They drag Deputy Nick out, turn him to face the sheriff and Chicory, and then... yeah, they make an incision in his forehead and peel his hair and the attached skin back from his skull.
That was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
Really? That was the hardest part?
Well, because that doesn't kill you is the thing.
Exactly. And that happened.
Yeah.
Like that. And for me, anything that is more realistic just immediately makes it that much worse.
Well, what happens next?
It gets worse somehow from the scalping. And you have the sheriff tries to grab the, I think it looks like it's bones that are wedged in the dirt to form their cage. He and Chicory try to start pulling one away, and one of the troglodytes just kind of casually uses his tomahawk to cut off one of the sheriff's fingers, and just
two of them.
Oh yeah, two of the fingers, and just again, just very, there goes that part of your body forever.
Let's pause here for a second. Listeners, if you've never seen this movie and you're listening to this podcast because you're like, oh, the other movies that these guys have watched have all been some degree of weird or fun, but this is a Western. Whatever happens can't be too horrible, right? Yeah. If you're squeamish and haven't seen this movie already, you might want to jump ahead, because what happens next is...
two of the troglodytes pick Deputy Nick up by his legs.
After they've stripped him naked.
Separate them into kind of a wishbone way.
Hold him upside down.
To hack away
from...
At
his taint.
Yes. From the...
We've talked about the sound design in this movie, and I just imagine the guy who had to do this sitting with various blunt, semi-sharp objects and various cuts of what do you think, meat?
I imagine
it have to be a carcass of some sort.
Oh yeah, just holding a butcher knife and a turkey,
and just whacking it. What is exactly the right sound for this part of the body being hit over and over until it gives way? And whatever it was, it works because you could watch it with your eyes closed and it would not protect you from how visceral this scene is.
And I think a lot of people probably have watched this scene with their eyes closed.
Because, they hit and they hit until he gives way and they literally peel him in half.
One guy takes one leg in one direction, the other in a different direction, and then his insides fall outside.
It's not clear who gets the bigger part, so I guess both of their wishes came true.
I think so. At least for a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's almost a relief when we cut from that back to O'Dwyer, who at this point his leg is in such bad shape that he can't even hobble on his crutch. He's just on his knees and elbows, just crawling forward. And at this point, I just noted it's almost a shame that True Grit was already taken as a title for Western, because that is sort of the theme of his story. Just a guy who is going by God to get where his wife is, and nothing will stop him from continuing to move forward at whatever pace he is still capable of.
Mm-hmm. One of the most clever parts of the movie, in my opinion, happens next in the caves. They brought with them a tincture of, was it morphine? Yeah, they
opium.
Opium. Yeah, they make a big deal about this tincture of opium that they're bringing with them to give to O'Dwyer for his leg, and they leave it with him when they're forced to abandon him. But they put some of it in a whiskey flask. So Chicory and Sheriff Hunt come up with this idea to use the troglodytes' own petty cruelty against them. When the troglodytes walk by, they pretend to be fighting over who gets to drink it. So one of the troglodytes reaches in and takes it from them. And it's not enough for them to just take the flask away. They have to stop and drink it in front of them too. So these guys are taking big chugs of opium.
A good point of tension is that the first one to take it then turns it over and starts to pour it out, like to see what's inside. And there's a moment where it seems like, they're just going to empty it before they start drinking. So it's a good suspense sequence in the middle of everything.
Yeah, and Mrs. O'Dwyer points out after the troglodytes walk away that one of them is definitely going to die, the guy who chugged a bunch of it. The second guy to drink some is going to be uncomfortable for a little while, and the third guy is going to be fine. And it's like, all right, well, 1.5 for 3, I guess, isn't so bad.
And they estimate, I think, that there are 12 males in this group altogether. And so 3 of them were killed by the sheriff, Bruder, and Chicory as they came in. So now 1 more is dead, 1 more is incapacitated, and so I think that they figure that leaves 7 for O'Dwyer to deal with when he gets there. And in a weird way, though, O'Dwyer being so badly injured kind of works to his advantage, because when the sheriff, Bruder, and Chicory come in, they've got their guns raised and they're ready, and they're getting hit with arrows and tomahawks before they even realize the enemy's there. O'Dwyer gets attacked while he's curled up and resting in a corner, and he looks so close to death already that they kind of approach him slowly with their bows ready to draw, but it gives him time to get his gun up and shoot 2 of them dead before they can kill him. So in some ways, the fact that they think he's just wounded prey to be finished off works in his favor.
And I want to go back to what we were talking about, the dialogue in this movie, and really taking time to character build with these scenes, because after the whole thing with the troglodytes and drinking the opium and walking away, which, to set up something later, it should be mentioned, once the troglodytes empty that flask, they toss it onto the fire pit in the middle of the floor. That's going to be important in a few minutes.
Chekhov's flask.
Yes. But Chicory starts talking about a flea circus that he and his late wife went to, and how his late wife tried to tell him that it was all tricks. It was these 2 German brothers that ran this flea circus, and it was just trickery that they were employing. And he was convinced, no, in fact, these little fleas were actually performing all these tricks. So Mrs. O'Dwyer chimes in to tell him, yes, so a lot of these people, a lot of these grifters do use trickery with their flea circuses, but these 2 brothers were known for using real trained fleas. Which is a nice little callback to while Deputy Nick was being butchered, Sheriff Hunt was telling him, hey, the cavalry is coming, we're going to avenge you, and we're going to get all these guys, and we're going to kill all of them. And when asked why he lied about that afterwards, the sheriff says, I wanted to give him some hope before he died. And it was, I think, really sweet of Mrs. O'Dwyer to give that to Chicory before, as far as they all know, they are about to be brutally murdered. But Chicory gets the knowledge that hopefully now, or well, that his theory was correct.
It's one of the two nice moments. The other one being what you mentioned earlier, where Mrs. O'Dwyer assesses like how much damage is going to be done by the opium that the troglodytes drink. Where even though she is basically a damsel in distress, like she's been captured and she's not a fighter, she's not armed, so she is relying on these men to save her. But to give her moments of like intelligence and self-possession and just this empathy that make her feel like still more of a character, even if she's in a situation that she can't rescue herself from. But yeah, so the troglodytes figure out that this flask was responsible for poisoning them. So they come back, they drag the sheriff out and cut open. Let's see. Yeah, I think you noted it there. Nope.
Yeah, I added it afterwards.
Oh, there it is.
It's at this point they drag him out, take the tomahawk, slice open this big wound along Sheriff Hunt's side, and at first you can't really tell how deep it is. It just looks like a shallow cut that they made until they go and they get that flask out of the fire pit and they shove it into the open wound in Sheriff Hunt's body. Jesus God, yeah. I can imagine few things worse than having a superheated flask inserted into my body.
Except for, maybe a tomahawk to the taint.
Yeah, taint-a-hawk.
Yeah, and so you have this scene where the troglodyte that's doing that also picks up his repeater rifle and it fires off one shot just kind of by chance, and then is like trying to figure out how to shoot it again because he doesn't know how to reload it. And then almost purely by luck just happens to be holding it in the down-pointed position at Kurt Russell's chest when he figures out how to chamber another round and shoots him in the lung. And so for the rest of the scene, Kurt Russell is breathing in a way that just makes it clear that there is now fluid going into places that your chest really should not have fluid. And like I mentioned earlier, like the visual of someone, like the way the eyes bug when they choke is something that hits me in a particular way. The sound of someone trying to breathe when their lungs are not doing what they should is also just, yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, it's fitting what you said about the alternate title being True Grit because motherfucking Arthur O'Dwyer makes it all the way to these caves. And it's worth pointing out, this is not a ground level cave. This is up in a mountain where the other troglodytes have to throw down ropes. And the bodies of the sheriff and Chicory have to be dragged up there.
But I do love that he was the one that found
that there's another way
door.
around, yeah.
Oh.
Because he looks up and sees it and then is like, no, and then starts crawling up the hill off to the side.
Okay, yeah, I didn't catch that immediately. I thought that motherfucker tied himself up on one of those ropes and crawled or climbed to the top.
It wouldn't be out of his depth.
Yeah, so he comes in. I think he shoots two more of the troglodytes, and then Hunt manages to get his hand on the tomahawk. And how does he? Let's see. He starts with cutting off the front of like the big one. I think has like boar tusks driven into his face. Hunt like cuts off the front of his foot, and then I think hits him in the chest, and then takes off his head with another swipe. So not just kills him a little, kills him a lot. But so O'Dwyer and Chicory and Mrs. O'Dwyer are all going to try to make a break for it. But the sheriff is clearly in no shape, so he gets leaned up against a wall. They put his repeater in his hand, and he's going to stand there and try to take out the remaining three when they get there. And he gets what is maybe one of my favorite last character lines in film, where it's been established that Chicory is a widower, and we saw a scene where the sheriff said goodbye to his wife before going out. And so he tells Chicory, say goodbye to my wife, I'll say hello to yours. And it's... Yeah, just a beautiful scene that both Richard Jenkins and Kurt Russell have with this goodbye before they have to leave him behind.
Yep, and the movie ends with the three of them escaping Mr. and Mrs. O'Dwyer and Chicory, and way off in the distance behind them, they hear 3 gunshots. So presumably, hopefully, the sheriff got the last 3 of them before he died. That's the interpretation that I'm going with because it's the most hopeful one. We didn't talk about one of the other most disgusting things to happen in this movie. These troglodytes communicate via some form of I don't even know what to
windpipe
call
mutation?
it. Yeah,
I
they've
don't-
got some kind of mutation in their windpipes that allows them to do this like otherworldly whistle to communicate with each other. So after Arthur O'Dwyer kills one, he starts cutting into this guy's neck.
Well, the first thing he asks is, "What is this, jewelry?" No.
No, not quite. He digs that motherfucker out of this guy's throat, has to break it off, and then makes the decision to hold the still bloody vocal, like, I don't know what to call
Whistle.
this thing, vocal bone
Bone whistle?
up to his lips and like blow through it, and then takes it away and has to wipe off his bloody lips.
Yeah, you see
And-
like little pink chunks come flying out of it the first time he tries to blow into it.
Well, what's even worse is, first he puts it up to his lips, then he puts it in his mouth.
Well, I guess you could call it Chekhov's windpipe because
Oh,
that's what he
God.
uses to like call the others to him, and he uses it at the end as they're escaping and check to make sure there are no more around. But God, what a horrible visual!
His wife is understandably reluctant to kiss him as a reunion moment until he's wiped his mouth off. And honestly, I would have had him like gargle something like pure alcohol for like 3 straight days before.
It's supposed to be a sweet moment that he takes out his handkerchief and wipes off his mouth and chin before he kisses her. But the four of us watching this, we're like, nope, no, don't kiss that man.
You know medicine. You know that he is already in serious trouble and you do not want to share in it.
Yep. Well, that is our last Lost Adjacent movie. So that in order, it was Brick, then The Stepfather 1 and 2, then Mission Impossible 2, Smokin' Aces, Looper, and now Bone Tomahawk. So we're going to have to come up with our next show. We've decided we're going to watch the first season of Justified. So we're going to have a Justified adjacent movie after that first season.
Did we ever do... I feel like all the movies we did about, like, with the actor from Lost that was in the movie, that was our reason for watching it, died horribly in that movie. Because Emily DeRavin gets murdered in Brick, and the stepfather, Terry O'Quinn, appears to die at the end of both of them, though for sequels they had him come back later. In Smokin' Aces, at least Jack and I think Richard Alpert's or Nestor Carbonell survives, but only just.
Yeah.
Jack and Keamy both get killed.
Yep.
Mission
Mission Impossible 2, Ethan Goodwin, or Ethan Rahm, William Mapother's character, gets hit head on by like an 18-wheeler and his car explodes.
in slow motion, naturally.
Looper didn't feature any lost characters or lost actors, but
the
it was.
time travel is all about killing yourself
Yeah.
in one way or another. So,
And then, my God, does Matthew Fox die a horrific death in this movie? Wow.
Do you think? I mean, the sort of the escalation of violence that we took from Brick to Bone Tomahawk.
From brick to bone.
this is why Gina was suggesting that we watch Bride and Prejudice, which is like a Bollywood spin on the Austen novel with Naveen Andrews as one of the male leads. Looking back at our choices, I feel like maybe we should have done something to change it up a little bit. Though
Well,
I
that
don't
can
know.
be our added challenge. Our Justified adjacent movie has to feature a character, an actor from the show that doesn't die horrifically. Which there are plenty of Timothy Olyphant movies out there where he doesn't die. And
He also did a bunch of movies where he has to kill a lot of people because, as he described it, like he had just bought a new house when they canceled Deadwood abruptly. So between that show and Justified, he was like, I was signing up for whatever they would pay me to do. Hitman, The Crazies.
Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never seen any of those, I don't think.
Varying degrees of quality. I think Live Free or Die Hard is one of the worst movies ever made. Followed quickly by the fifth Die Hard movie. What was the name of that one?
Good Day to Die
A
Hard.
Good Day to Die Hard.
God, there was a fifth one? Jesus.
It was so bad. So bad. But anyway. So yes, listeners, so what you've got to look forward to is next week we are going to start the first season of Justified. But if you've been paying attention to this show over the last, 8 months, you may have heard that Robert's wife is pregnant and due in
30
less than a month
days?
now, 30 days.
Among the multiple reasons she didn't watch Bone Tomahawk with her, I don't feel like Nick's fate would have made her feel particularly optimistic towards childbearing.
No,
God, no, not quite. So we've got a few weeks left. Robert has said he wants to continue watching and podcasting all the way up until it's time. So we normally go on a hiatus about this time anyway. Usually it's because Cara and I are working on a show and Robert's in it with us. That's been the last 2 years of The Tempest and Hamlet. So we normally take a hiatus in the fall anyway. And we got a good reason to this time. When we come back, hopefully enough time will have passed where everything is settled in and you can find time to escape for 2 hours once a week. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, over the next few weeks, we can watch the first season of Justified and discuss that before we go on our hiatus. So, guys, social media or something that you're enjoying right now?
So, Cara and I were talking about this before we started recording, but we've both been watching the first few episodes of Widow's Bay on Apple TV. If you wanted to see what Jaws would look like, written by Stephen King and then adapted by a writer for Parks and Recreation, that is what this show is. It is the story of a mayor of this town on an island off the coast of New England who is trying so hard to get tourism driven up because the town needs the revenue. And by golly, he's going to do it even if the insane old fisherman is yelling at him about that fog coming in, turning everyone into zombies, and all the killer clowns and haunted mirrors and everything else on this island that all the locals keep telling him about. And so it's legitimately effective as horror is the thing. Like the atmosphere, the production are all super effective. But Matthew Rhys, who plays the mayor, is kind of channeling Leslie Knope with this kind of, I cannot believe I have to help these idiots despite themselves. And yeah, his exasperation is such. It's a great performance because it's comic what it needs to be, but he can also be scared in ways that lets the audience be scared with him. Stephen Root plays the town fisherman who's ranting about all these old legends. It's a great cast, fun show. Yeah, I'm 2 episodes in and loving it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, is that your thing that you're doing or sparking joy currently?
Yeah, because it's that we did finish The Good Place, which I'd watched everything but the final handful of episodes, and so I finished that, which apparently it was my month to do the afterlife death thing, and God, I did really well until right there at the end, and then I just lost it.
I'm very sorry to hear that. I feel like you've done enough crying recently.
Right? That's what I said.
Well,
is there any crying in Justified?
No.
Good.
There's a lot of crying in Justified.
No, okay.
No crying in Justified.
There's
Great.
There's a lot of shootings.
Awesome.
And
I like those.
Tonight, the 3 of us are going to go see Obsession. You're not going to cry during that, let me tell you.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe maybe I'll fear cry, scaredy cry.
Listeners, Cara does this thing when she watches horror movies that we've dubbed, or actually she dubbed it and we've adopted it, hot dogging, where she just sits perfectly still, sitting straight up. And I imagine that after the first 20 minutes of the movie, Kara's just going to hot dog for the rest of it. This is going to be me and Katie's second time watching Obsession. And again, not saying this is a paid advertisement, but if Blumhouse wants to throw a little money our way for promoting Obsession, I will definitely take it because this is a great movie. It lives up to the hype.
We're promoting it, and it's going to end with a box office in the hundreds of millions. So I think it's reasonable to assume those two are connected.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I like the way that you think, Robert. Blumhouse, give me a call. But that's going to be it for us. If you want to follow me online, the best place to do that is on Instagram at DBHensley. And I am still threatening to keep up with our Instagram. I'm just really fucking bad at it. If you want to keep up with Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us to see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming. You can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoy this show, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
It is the official opinion of the backup sheriff's deputy that getting hit in the taint hurts.
Squelch.